All right, well, I will introduce to you Todd Yunker, Mr. Todd Yunker. He's out of North Carolina, and he will be taking us through a story. And in fact, I was involved in that story before he was involved. Well, not really, because
Yeah, you were.
yeah. So back when this coronavirus thing hit, and the PPE literally turned into the hottest commodity, and it's not, you think about masks that were costing cents, all of a sudden costing dollars, and watching how that impacted our economy, our healthcare. It was just a terrible situation. And then, and when we started talking about it, and I'll introduce you as the and you'll probably run through this with your slides, but started out with an LED company,
right,
who was doing imports from different places, but one of those being China, right, and then doing the assembly here in the States using Yunker, and they had a big Yunker contract, and being able to sell to the government that way, and working on many projects from an LED standpoint. And then when this thing hit, one of the biggest challenges was the supply chain was just broken. You didn't realize how over the course of time, we have developed a very lean supply chain, which, right, and here's a classic example of that lean supply chain is that from the time that tree is cut down to the time that you're wiping your butt is a matter of weeks, right? And you're wondering what happened to all the toilet paper? Right. What happened to all the toilet paper? People lose their mind, and you don't have enough in the supply chain. There's not warehouses full of toilet paper. It's just in time, which means, hey, the tree gets cut down, and it's very lean, very cost effective, and absolutely brutal if you have a spike or a challenge like we had. And the same thing happened in PPE. And you just can't sneeze these things. They just don't exist. And that's why you had some really shady characters that started popping up, and you started having really a lot of challenges that we never thought we would have, especially when it came to healthcare. And that's why I'm glad that I'm welcoming Todd Yunker. He's the vice president of ALG Health, which is a division of ALG, because once there were two problems. One, solve the problem of PPE today. And that was back in February, March, April, and May. Right. You just couldn't get it. So one was solve the problem of today. And I caught a lot of grief from a lot of people about saying, hey, these masks shouldn't cost this much. You're darn right it shouldn't cost this much, but we're not the problem. The problem was supply chain created the demand, and the demand could not be met. So what we had to do was solve the problem of the day, get the masks to the people that needed them in order for, I'm talking about healthcare providers, people that have to have them, and solve that problem first. Phase one, solve that problem. Phase two, establish manufacturing here in the United States so that you don't have that problem. You may have other problems, but you don't have that problem again. And that is what, when we started sending the information out, because we have a lot of contacts, and we were sending out, hey, if you need this, we have this, and it's coming in, and stuff was being sold before it was even manufactured. So, because you're buying on production. And that was a totally different mindset. So people were like, I'm not paying that. I'm not wasting that much time. And they just did not have it. So now things are starting to change. You see the pricing starts to be leveled out to where it should be. But that still doesn't meet the criteria of helping us as a nation stop our dependence for foreign PPE until, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Todd Yunker.
Thanks. I almost could just put my information up and let you finish the rest of the talk, Dave, because you said just about everything there already is to say. So I appreciate that. You've set the stage really well, kind of given everybody the background, and we understand that. And the only thing I think I would add to that is you are right in the supply chain area. When the price goes up, because when the planes stop flying and the boats stop sailing from across, it's highest bidder that gets the stuff. And that's why the price has gone up so high. So I'll share my screen here. And I am technologically not the sharpest tool in the shed. So as Dave can attest to, with my skills for the setup for this this whole FedCon. So I appreciate Dave setting this up. I think it's awesome. I can't wait. I was talking to a couple of other attendees of the booth earlier, and we all can't wait for this to become, back to in person.
Amen, brother.
But I thank Dave for putting this together. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity. And yeah, I feel like we've got a pretty good story to tell, and we're in a pretty good place for this group of folks that we've talked to today. So as Dave said, my name is Todd Yunker. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I'm a minority owner in this organization as well. So I'm not just an employee. Everything that I say is because I've been here since the beginning of it and when it started.
Yep.
Two things, and I'll talk about our company really quick and where we're located. I'll begin with the end in mind, and that is the fact that every question I've been asked today is, do we have NIOSH? And the answer is yes. We have NIOSH certification on several of our lines of product. We've got that just recently. And yes, we are 100% made in the United States. We are made right here in Northwest Ohio. As Dave said, we were founded in about 2012 as Access LED Group. And for many of you who are familiar with the BAA program, the company was making, or it's still making LED lighting, commercial grade LED lighting, does a lot for the government and commercial businesses in that space, in the LED space. They started in about 2012. I believe he started with I believe he was doing some governmental work with prisoners, putting this stuff to, manufacturing these things. And then about 3 years ago, he moved it to Adam, who's our founding owner, moved it to Northwest Ohio and Defiance, Ohio specifically. He's from Defiance, Ohio, which is why we moved it there. I'm from not too far away near Toledo. And then it got cold, so I moved to North Carolina. So got a little bit warmer on that. But we moved, as I said, we moved to Defiance and then making LEDs, and then came 2020. And we all know this year has been quite a show. Let's just put it that way. We were in the LED business. He was in the LED business. I was not part of the organization at that point. And then started, as Dave was actually talking about and setting the stage, that we started in and just getting the stuff here. So we had the connections for supplies overseas, and we became Access LED, ALG Health formed and became a reseller of PPE products. Basically, like bunches of other people came out, we started becoming a reseller, selling products out there to who we can get. And that's where, getting to meet Dave, where I got to meet Dave. And then somewhere along the lines, we decided, you know what, we saw the market coming. Even in March, we saw American-made PPE. I can specifically remember watching the news one night and looking at my wife before I even was part of ALG Health. And I said, American-made PPE is the next big thing from a business perspective. So, and here we are today. So this group of people that are here at VFedCon, I don't need to tell everybody about the trials and tribulations about the problems that we've had in the PPE supply chain, today. I think that the number one thing that I always tell people that I can go back to is the fact that the COVID-19 and this pandemic, it didn't cause the supply chain problem. It just merely exposed a weak point for us.
That's right.
It was there all along. Nobody talked about it. And it sort of took this epidemic for everybody to have to deal with it, right? I think it's normal nature, right? You don't deal with the house unless something's broken. You don't typically go through what it needs to go through right now to get it through there. So we've obviously, it's no surprise, manufacturing in the United States has gone down for decades. That said 60%, I saw a statistic, 60% of the supplies are made in Malaysia, the rest is Thailand and China. And we had stockpile going into this pandemic. We had less than 10% of what was needed to fight the pandemic. So as Dave set up, we saw price gouging. We saw mass quality control issues where garbage product was coming in. And I shudder to think about what the safety of our first responders and medical personnel have put on themselves in an effort to that this weak thing was better than nothing. And so we see what's coming, and that is the demand for PPE. American-made PPE is going to compound by double digits every year for the next foreseeable future. Do I hope the fact that we never get put in this position again? Talk a little bit about that. So here we are today. This is our factory in Defiance, Ohio. I wanted to sort of lay this out so everybody could actually see what was going on. You can actually see some of the things that are being done in our facilities. It's not just, smoke and mirrors. We're actually making product in there today. We're producing about 10,000 a day right now. Of these masks up here, which is our, basically a cup formed mask. We're making a foldable mask that we're looking at getting the N95 certification here in the next couple of weeks. We're going through the process right now. You've got a disposable mask. It's not I would admit, it's not our number one seller. It's not our number one primary goal. Really the cup, the formed mask in two sizes, it comes in two sizes, with a valve, without a valve, and the foldable, once we get the NIOSH certification, will become the N95 certified on that as well. Those are our primary product lines. Today, like I said, we are currently manufacturing in Defiance, Ohio, in a small piece of what was the LED factory. We carved that out into the mask producing, the respirator producing portion. Like I said, we're currently producing about 10,000 a day. We're running two shifts right now. We're running a third shift and a first shift, and we are exponentially growing that capability every single day. I mean, I get our capability reports every day. We're going from, we were at 6,000 a day about 2 weeks ago. Now we're at 10,000. Right, as we get more and more machines coming up and online, and our people get better and better at this, and our quality control gets better and better at this, that we're exponentially coming up, jumping like we can jump 1,000 a day for manufacturing capabilities. Less than 60 days, you can see here, I wanted to at least include this shot of this newspaper because we were operating at about a 2,500 square foot facility for the first few months of existence. We have acquired and right now are retrofitting a 100,000 square feet facility in Bryan, Ohio, which is about 20 minutes away from Defiance. Nice. We chose to go there because really complete transparency and honesty, we chose to go there because that was where we could find a 100,000 square foot facility in Northwest Ohio that was ready for us to move into. It was actually a facility that made medical beds, and the gentleman who owned that sold it. And, it's kind of funny, Dave, one of the way we found that we were ready to go on, we were negotiating a purchase of a building in Napoleon, Ohio, which is 20 miles. If anybody knows, it's 20 miles to the east of Defiance. And we're going down the path with them. My mother-in-law runs into somebody in the grocery store in Michigan who she kind of remembered. They caught up in the aisle of a grocery store. She said, "What are you doing?" I'm catching up, blah, blah, blah. Long story. She goes, "My husband is just selling his business and he owns this 100,000 square foot facility." And we were like, she's like, "Well, we need to talk to him." And that was a Wednesday. Thursday night, we're looking at the facility. Friday, we're working on the paperwork. Sometimes it's just divine intervention. And,
yeah, man. Hey,
how
you take it. You take it. And that, just talking to people, telling people what the problem is, what problem you have, and coming up with solutions. Imagine that. That's what we're doing.
Put it out there. Put it out there and it'll happen, right? Yeah. That's how small business, sometimes that's the work. A little bit of luck in small business. I mean, the facility we were about to obtain, it needed $1 million worth of work just to move into it. And we were able to save that $1 million right off the bat with as everybody understands, small companies, new companies don't have, we don't have $1 million to just throw around. So less than 60 days from now, we are again, we have numerous machines that are sitting in boxes right now, waiting for the electrical work to get done in this Bryan facility, in this 100,000 square foot facility. I'm going up, be up there next week so we can get some of these machines up and going, getting our staffing going. And we should be in the, we should be producing at about 25,000 a day in the next, in less than 60 days. Our goal is to do that by the end of calendar year 2020. Q1, and now we get into 2021. By the end of Q1, this Bryan facility ought to be fully operational. We are looking at about 50 to 60 machines total, and that'll put us on the path for about 700,000. Our goal is 1 million a day ultimately, but we're on the path for about 700,000 by the end of Q1. We should be about 500,000 to 700,000 a day in that facility alone. Now, these are all forecasted numbers. I would say, don't call me in March and say, you said you'd be at 500 and we're only at 400. Maybe, supply chain issues and all the other things. We're assuming all of that stuff. We stay on top of all of that. End of Q2, that's where we're going to get into. We'd like to get to that 60 machines done mid next year. We are also by mid next year. The plant layout includes nitrile glove machines.
Nice.
So the plant layout, we have laid out for 4 nitrile glove machines. Obviously you have to have 4: small, medium, large, extra large. And assuming everything else goes right, we'll be bringing those machines in from overseas and starting to fire those machines up by Q3. In Q3, getting to that, closer to getting to that million a day number. It's aggressive. We know that some of our biggest challenges are going to be raw materials, the players coming into this space. We know that there's a lot of players coming into this space. And then we are also actively looking at, possibly by Q4 of next year, having another facility. We've been in talks with North Carolina, which is obviously my preference to have it down here. It's warm. It's nice. There's a lot of people here.
And you don't have to drive for 6 hours.
You have to drive for, it's a solid 9.5 hour drive.
9.5. Sorry, sold you short.
9.5 hour drive to the office, or 9.5 hour drive there, 9.5 hour drive back. It's a long drive. That makes for a long day. We have, looking at North Carolina, we're looking at Wyoming. We've also talked to Utah in potentially opening another facility there. There's a lot of competition in this space that's coming. We believe that we're ahead of the game. When we talk to NIOSH, and I'm being fully transparent with the people who are here. When we met with them, we asked the question, how many other companies, United States-based companies, are applying for this right now? And at the time that we talked to them, there was only 7.
That's insane.
There's only, in this day, cannot believe that in this day, in this age, that there's only 7 companies
that makes zero sense. That makes zero sense. Well, kudos to you. We knew that it was. Keep going.
No, it's right. It's a difficult process. You have to have your ducks in a row.
That's true.
You have to have your stuff together. You have to know what you're doing. And then, or you can just get lucky like we did, because, that's how it worked out. No, we've got some pretty good experts. We've hired some engineers, the right engineers. We've hired the right consultants, the right people who've actually helped us in this process, right? I'm a dumb sales and marketing guy who spent the last 25 years of his career in sports sales. I know how to sell and I don't market, but manufacturing was something that we didn't know. So we brought the right people in for that. Obviously, for future development, I just got done talking about extra locations and nitrile gloves. We know there are more players coming into the space. It's one of these, we live by the fact that, rise the tide. What is the old all boats rise?
Yep. Rising tide raises all ships.
Right. Rising tide raises all ships. We know that there's some other good American-made manufacturers coming into this space. and we look forward to help them coming in. There's plenty of food at the bowl for everybody to help solve this problem, not just now during the current pandemic, which unfortunately is driving things right now. We wish we weren't getting business this way. We'd rather it not be getting. We'd rather have this gone and earn business through the system, the regular system.
Look,
but
I just want to say something.
Yeah.
The need is there,
right,
for companies to step up and throw some risk. It's not like there's a guaranteed result here.
right.
And when I remember sending the first emails out to say, hey, we're working to solve step one, solve the problem that we have right now, get the PPE to people that need it. And it was like, you should be giving this stuff away. It's costing $2.50 for something that cost 25 cents before.
Right.
And you didn't make it up. There's a reason why you need companies to step up and deliver on what you can do. And because of ALG's relationship with importers from China, look, full disclosure, the stuff was coming from China. That's where your relationships were, because what part of LEDs don't get made in China? There's a whole nother problem.
Nobody doesn't make
Nobody does
right.
it. And as a result, you're watching the impact of 25 years worth of eroding of Maryland, of United States manufacturing, and it all comes home to roost in like a few months. Right. And you get to see the impact of some of the decisions that were made 30 years ago. Right. And this is what I know it frustrates you and it frustrates me, but that's why, I appreciate the fact that you don't like the situation we're in. However, the situation exists, and you need to solve the problem. And so I love the fact that you already know, you got it mapped out, saying, okay, this is where we expect to be, and you're already doing it. That's the most important thing. You're already doing it today. And oh, by the way, pardon the pun, you don't sneeze NIOSH, by the way.
No, it's a big deal. It is a big deal. If you've never gone through that process, it is difficult. If anybody started that, if you started the process today, we know, if you just said, hey, look, let's say you have an open checkbook and we're going to start making masks, you're 12 months from being able to produce your first NIOSH certified mask. And that's if everything goes well.
Wow.
So we do feel like we're headed. We know we got bumps in the road. I would not tell anybody who's listening, anybody who's out there, we know we're not going to be perfect. This is not going to go perfectly. We realize we have a lot of work to do, and this is not going to be perfect. We have a lot of people, knocking at the door, asking for when they can get in and when they can get more done. We can't. We're trying to keep up with the demand that's out there. We know we're not going to be perfect. However, we do feel like that we're in the right place and ahead of the game. We're ahead of the curve for what's going to be able to come. And we should be able to help this problem that everybody's having. And we feel like what we're hearing from all of our boots on the ground, from people who live in Washington, and NIOSH folks and people at the CDC and all these relationships we have, that we feel like the N95 is going to become the standard. As the suppliers in the United States goes up, the price will come down, price per will come down, and that will allow our medical personnel, our first responders, our military, and our humanitarians are the kind of the big categories that we focus on. They will be able to get away from using that disposable mask that's out there and get to a price point that allows them to be using an N95 mask, which will give them better protection once we can get the price point down to where it needs to be and the supply where it needs to be.
Beautiful.
So that's we're the home of the Patriot mask. That is our brand. Obviously, we wanted to tie in the United States, the fact that we are 100% made in the United States. That we invite anybody who's listening, anybody who's attending today. We love to do tours. That's one of the advantages that we have. Unfortunately, we're getting into December, November, December, January. It's pretty cold if you're not living in the cold. If you don't live in the cold states, it can be pretty chilly come January in Northwest Ohio. But one of the advantages that we do have is that where if you're buying stuff from overseas, you don't really know what you're getting. And I would be completely honest and completely transparent because I know Dave and I trust Dave. And I would tell you, I don't care what anybody overseas says about what their products are. They will change it up and
Huge problem.
And sell you out in a second.
Huge problem, especially when you get to the point where you're living with the scarcity mentality, right? And we talked about this a few months ago when it was revolving around gloves. I mean, masks. I mean, my mom was making masks, for folks, the cloth masks and all that. Great, you can do that. You cannot just all of a sudden bippity boppity boo, I dream of genie a glove factory. That
Right.
sucker is major. It's
Right.
crazy how involved that is. And so when the first wave of things was masks, and then the second wave was gloves. And when that second wave came, the shady people just came out of the woodwork.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I heard multiple cases, and this is all fake, where somebody was saying, yeah, somebody's got a billion gloves in a warehouse somewhere. I'm like, who the heck has a billion gloves in a warehouse, especially right now? Because everybody's clamoring for them. They didn't exist because the supply chain was so narrow and thin. And then you have everybody. We're not just competing in the United States, right? We had people competing in the United States from different states, but we're competing with the world.
Right.
With a worldwide pandemic. And as a result, what happened here was you just cannot manufacture them fast enough. And all the shadesters come out, and they'll tell you anything. And then the whole thing was, give me video evidence, right? You remember?
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. That was
video
it.
evidence
We had a lot
that
of
it
people calling it. You want to see video of us in the stuff in the warehouse? Yep.
In the warehouse.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll supply it. We'll supply it. Just wire the money.
Well, we had a meeting last week, and I'll keep everybody, all the information, all the people who were in the room confidential. But if anybody did the digging, they could find out in a second who I'm talking about. But we had one of the head lawyers, big lawyer out of Chicago, who they were working a deal with, it was one of the largest manufacturers in the world in China, for 1.8 billion masks. A deal on paper, the contract that was from them that they wrote that his company signed. Long story short, after several months of shipments as expected, everything was falling on. The overseas manufacturer just decided one day that, hey, you know what? We don't want to abide by this anymore. We don't want to abide by inspections anymore. We don't want to follow this contract anymore. And they stopped shipping it because they found somebody else to pay them a higher price.
Yep. Happen all the time.
That's just the scruples that go on. And that's the difference, I think, without, we all know that stuff happens. We're in the way. I talked to one gentleman today. It was great. He does deals with 6 states in the Midwest. I said, for us, we have a truck. We own a delivery truck. I can be there in a day with a truck full of them, right? And that's the difference in what, in dealing with somebody in the United States. Price is going to be an issue. We know that. We're going to have to stay competitive as the best we can. But what we think it'll all even itself out in the long run.
Well, the beautiful thing is that when you're in control of that, there's your prices are going to get better and better and better as you get better and better at manufacturing. Shocking. You'll be more competitive, and then you'll start to help to drive the pricing down, especially on the good stuff. That's the biggest thing is making sure that it's good stuff. And I'm not going to steal thunder, but I know for a fact your N95s are going to be better because I know what materials you guys are operating with. because your minimum specifications are not N95, and that's
No.
a beautiful thing.
Well, we have 90, and I have our initial reports back. We had ICS was the testing company that we used. And if anybody out there wants to see our reports, I'm happy to share that. We came back with every single one of our tests, which I believe was 20 tests. Everyone came back with over 99%.
Nice.
To the point that we actually even considered going for N99, but as a new company, and that standard is so difficult to achieve. We knew the standard is N95. Maybe someday we take that next step, but as of today, let's just get to the standard. Let's get everything done the right way. And again, I think the biggest thing is somebody wants to come, they want to buy, they're going to look into a purchasing contract with us. They can step on our factory floor. They can see everything that's going on. They can meet the ownership and actually check us out before they buy anything specific. So, and
to your point, that how much better is it to have a manufacturer that's coming and says, hey, we're going to do the N99. We're not going to say it's an N99, but we're going to put the same quality in an N95. That is what's going to change the environment.
Right.
That's what's going to change it. And folks that are willing to give you a shot. Right. And you don't have to buy 1 billion of them, for crying out loud. No, you go, check them out and go order a couple thousand, 10, 15, 20,000, order them, test them out, and see that they're talking about is true. And if it's not, kick them to the curb like you should.
Right. That's right. We want feedback. If it's a matter of sampling and you want a few of them for fit testing, we've got a sample program that goes on. You just reach out to me. There's my contact information and say, look, I want 5, 10 samples that you can start to put through your fit testing. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. We've worked with a lot of hospitals, local hospitals in Northwest Ohio, and as we were developing this, we were giving them. They were working with us. Hey, change the nose foam a little bit. This put the nose bar, put that up a little higher. That'll allow for this. We worked with real people in real medical environments who were giving us real feedback on what we were doing. Yeah. That allowed us to make a good product before we even sent it off. So
that's fantastic.
Our website is there. My information is all there. We've got a pretty slick video. As the marketing sales guy, I got to push that a little bit, right? That's going to change your opinion of us because I spent the money on it, so it better. That's awesome. I got to justify my expenses to the board. So, if you go back and say the video was it, then
all right, go ahead and stop sharing your screen so people can see your face for real now. And I know you have a face for radio anyway.
Nobody needs to see my face on a regular basis.
That's fantastic. So I do have a couple of questions here. First of all, Todd Raines says, glad to see another U.S. manufacturer making PPE like us. So look up Todd Raines, because guess what? There's plenty of space for everybody, right?
Wonderful. Yep.
And American-made product is a different category than masks made in Asia. Amen, brother. Yes. And there's a customer base that is fine with paying more for a known quality and reliable U.S. manufacturer. Amen twice. Because aren't we all? Has anybody driving a Yugo right now?
Right. That's right.
You know why? Because Yugo was junk. It was the cheapest thing that you could get. And the challenge is what we saw the stuff coming in from China. And believe me, because we're the phase one that we were talking about with ALG originally, that was all coming in from China anyway. And guess what? We had to do the inspections. And guess how many of those did not meet the specifications that they said they were going to meet? Enough that we had to reject those orders.
Well, it started here, then it kept going down, and we kept seeing more and more rejections every single truck that would come through.
Every single time. And that's the difference. And if anybody's done anything with outsourcing, period, you know that if they're not based here, very difficult to track people down if they're 17,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Right. So we do have another one that says from Melissa, Superior Moving. Congrats on your growth. Let me know if you're in need of large commercial moving and storage company to assist your transition. Well, there you go.
Like that. All
right. We'll help you out. We are GSA contract holder. There you go.
All right.
Very good, Melissa. Good. And Fred Lanier. Todd would like to talk to you about making cloth masks for you. You don't do that right now, so maybe that's a good thing. Come see me at the Comfort Products V booth. So there you go. I know Fred. I think I don't know if you met Fred yet, because we've all been on those pre-meetings, so that was awesome. So Fred's a great guy, especially when he has he was logging in, he had the fan right behind his head. And
yeah. There was going on the top, looked like a propeller head. Yeah. I don't, I've got the bald head, so it doesn't work for me.
So yeah, so there you go. You got propeller head Fred. Oh man, that's gonna stick. That's gonna stick.
Fred.
That's gonna stick. I'm sorry, Fred.
Fred. That's gonna happen.
That just came out, man. But you got to now when they come by your V booth, you gotta be there with your propeller head Fred. The fan is off now,
I see
guys.
Fred came in our chat.
Awesome. So if there's any other questions, let us know, because you're here. Reach out to Todd. Quality is the issue, and you can't. And we were just talking about this. With I've been doing so many sessions I can't remember, but you're just talking about you can't tell quality, you can't tell customer service until you try it. Right. And I love your approach. Is look, we're young, but we're aggressive. We're young, and we want to meet that bar. You set the bar up here. You didn't set it here and say, well, let's see if we can kind of creep up. No, you set the bar up here. We're striving to do things better than anybody else, and as a result, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off, and the government is looking for what you have. And we're talking about that. We'll talk about that offline, about marketing to that, because that's why we're here. But you're, as we, Fred says, everybody come by and see the fan turned off. Man, you can't do that. You got to turn it on now.
But I would say, Dave, to that point, and it is, and I know it is a marketing pitch, and it sounds corny, but it is true. And we instill this in every staff member. We always say, we don't save lives, but we save those who do save. We save the lives of those who do save lives, right? We protect those who protect us, kind of thing.
Yeah, love it.
And we know that that's the case. And so we are fun. We are, I don't know, I think I'd call myself young, but we are energetic, and we are, getting this thing on the going, but we do know what we're doing, and the product that we make, we take very seriously, and make it, we make it for those who do save our lives.
Fantastic. That is awesome. And let me do this real quick, because I'm going to, I think we got most of that information out there. If anybody had any questions, I am going to say that you can go, here's the session you're in. And if you go right here, you can catch up with Todd Yunker in just a few minutes. It's going to take him a few minutes to get off of this and back onto his V booth. But you can go in there, because he's giving away some gift cards, and we got some stuff happening for happy hour as well. And the question is, who is your favorite actor?
Man, somebody asked me that earlier today, and I had to admit my guilty pleasure. I don't know if this is,
got to keep it common. Whatever you said to that person is it.
No, I could be, classic and smooth and say, the late great Sean Connery, right? He would be somebody that would be, but I'm a Matthew McConaughey guy.
Hey, man.
Right? I just think it's the coolest. I just listened to his book, and if I had to be an actor, I think I'd go Matthew McConaughey route all day long.
I like him a lot. I've always liked him. I mean, he's just.
I like him. He's real.
What?
He's real.
I think so. And his speech, I don't know which speech it was. His commencement speech for a university, bar none. Really. Yeah. One of the best.
Yeah. Well, and I just listened to his book at Green Lights, and I listened to my books in the morning, and he said that, his famous lines, all right. First lines he ever said on camera, and they were nowhere in a script. He just made them up off the top of his head.
And he's just a cool guy. Anyway, well, Matthew McConaughey is yours. Then when we're giving stuff away, you got to come to the happy hour. We'll give stuff away. Matthew McConaughey. If somebody can tell us, I have to write that one down. So, just because I'll forget. All right. Well, Todd, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everything you're doing to change things around supply chain of PPE, especially being made here in the United States. Keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to catching back with you guys and circulating this. And we will see you, everybody. Make sure you're going to the V booths, driving you to the V booths, and that would be these guys right here. You got to go check them out because they're giving stuff away, and then you can pop in with Sally. I will be in with Rafael Marrero for his session, so you'll see a little bit more of me, even if you don't like it. And then we'll be getting into finalizing what's happening for today. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later, Todd. Thank you much.
Thanks, Dave.